Is AI coming to steal your job? Yes, but also no, but also yes.
What?
I'm Douglas Nyback, this is DNA, and this is what's probably going to be the first of many conversations we have about this. Okay, so I'm going to structure this video as a bad news, good news, bad news Oreo, and we're going to start with some bad news. So the first bit of bad news here, look, AI is affecting a gajillion industries right now. It's the modern day equivalent of Henry Ford inventing the assembly line. And there's a lot of people who are going to be like, no, but like handmade, handcrafted, individual rivet screws, that's the way to do it. It's not. We're not going back to the horse and buggy. We're not going back. There's no putting this genie back in the bottle. That's the reality of it. Boatloads of industries being affected. Ours is highly visible and also just had a bunch of industry-wide, very public strikes, really trying to create some hedges against the night here. It's already affecting our industry too. And the first bit of bad news, and this is perhaps the spiciest take that's going to be in this video, is if you're a background performer, I would not invest in the longevity of your profession. Background performers are unbelievably important to film and television, and AI is the next step in what has already been a really big change. Ever since the invention of computer animation in film and television, small groups of background performers have been filmed and then duplicated and duplicated and duplicated. So, years and years ago, what would have taken hundreds of people to fill out a crowd now only takes a small group of people, and computers are filling in the rest. That's been happening already. Now with AI, we're getting these full body scans, and eventually what's going to happen, because we're seeing it with deepfake videos, we're seeing the technology out there all over the place. You can't trust the news anymore, basically, because you can't trust if somebody is actually saying something or not. And to think that that's not going to find its way into the background performer industry is folly. So I'm not saying this is going to happen overnight, but eventually what's going to happen is you're going to sell your likeness, and it's very possible that that likeness is going to be used and you're going to get paid for it. You're going to get paid less, and the process of BG going on set, I'm not talking about this year, I'm not talking about next year, I'm talking about 5-10 years from now, it's going to go away. And that's brutal. And it's true. The same thing happened with locations when green screen was invented, but nobody's lobbying for the existential rights of buildings. I don't love this, and it is innovation, and it will theoretically make productions cheaper. The technology is only going to become cheaper. Even if it's an added expense now, think of every human being on a set that you don't have to feed, every person you don't have to have holding for, every person you don't have to pay overtime, all of these things. It's changing, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. If you're a background performer, I would start thinking about how you want to diversify how you make your money in this industry. That's the reality of it. And I'd love to say that this is something we can fight, and we might be able to for a time, but it's not going to be a battle that we win, because these are publicly traded companies making these movies, and they're beholden to shareholders before they're beholden to audiences, or before they're beholden to their employees and their employees' livelihoods. And realistically, the second that they're able to cut their bottom line exponentially and make their productions cheaper by cutting out this human element, they are under a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to do so. Okay, so that was depressing. Now let's move on to some good news. People hate it. People friggin' hate AI. Like, audiences really, really hate it. Marvel's Secret Invasion? Yes, Secret Invasion. That was the show. They put together an AI-generated opening credit sequence, and holy crap. Like, the show was bad. It was objectively bad. It's been a lot of swings and misses from Marvel lately. The outcry of like, listen, man, you're a multi-gajillion dollar corporation, and you are taking something that is clearly the culmination of computer algorithms ripping art that has already been created by people. Like, computers have to get it from somewhere. And you're using that to create an opening credit sequence that looks like just awful and weird. And, you know, people in AI generated artwork still have like 15 fingers and about 47 teeth and look like they're demons that want to devour not just your soul, but any shred of who you've ever been over time and space. And audiences aren't here for it. People might be excited about the technology, but it's something that has such negative karma attached to it that I think there's going to be pushback to the degree that it is going to slow the tide for a while until it gets so good that nobody notices. So that is good and also bad. Listen, AI is going to change things. There's a lot of uncomfortable stuff here. I'm trying to make some cream in this Oreo, but it's hard. The next great thing is that it's probably going to replace white-collar jobs before it replaces blue-collar jobs. Listen, at our core, artists were blue-collar jobs. Like, we are gig workers. We're out there doing stuff with our hands and bodies and emotions and our brains. And when AI was created, the general cultural belief was that it was going to be replacing factory workers. It was going to be replacing blue-collar labor, all of that stuff. But the reality of it is that what it's actually been replacing has been more of the intellectual thinking jobs, right? Do you think like becoming a paralegal in 2024 is like the career for you? No, because your job is reading and analyzing data essentially, and computers are already doing that better. They're just not doing it to the degree that we can trust that legally they're not going to make mistakes yet, but it's going to happen. Film and television for the better part of the past decade, maybe even a little more, due in large part to the streaming innovation. Like, they came in and they disrupted everything, and decisions started being made based on algorithmic information. Algorithms are something that we put into motion and then they just do their thing. And essentially what happened is that the algorithms told the studios or these streaming services what people want to watch, and they were like, okay, cool, we'll make that. And then that's how we got a bunch of really terrible The Rock movies that shot their first drafts for gajillions of dollars for reasons passing understanding, because computers said, if this person is in it, a movie about this, then people will watch it, even if it's crap. And here's the thing, didn't really work, because now we have the streaming systems going back to essentially what is an ad-based model, right? Because they realize that they can't make any money that way. Subscriptions only work if the content is the destination. Content is king. Content is always king. If it's good, people will watch it. If it's bad, they won't. So they trusted the algorithms. Algorithms told them to make this stuff. They made it, but they kind of made it badly, and now they're like, all right, well, we got to stop doing that. Problem is that was the cream in our Oreo. Now we're back in the cookie side. But it's a bad cookie, which is that AI is as terrible today as it will always be ever. It's only getting better. You already can barely trust what you see on the internet because it looks so goddamn real. And this is as bad as it's going to get. So listen, the algorithm swung and missed a bunch, and it's only going to get better. Right now, art cannot conceivably be created by artificial intelligence, and AI is only going to get better. And I believe in art. Yeah, I do. I believe that there is something intangible based out of lived experience. So if artificial intelligence is trying to create art for humans to consume, there will likely always be a gap that's bridged. One of my favorite moments in modern movies is in The Departed. Leonardo DiCaprio is having a conversation with Verma Farmiga, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly-ish, and they're about to sort of hook up, and they're both in the kitchen. There's a bunch of dialogue about connection and vulnerability and all of this stuff, and then he just looks around the apartment and he says, "You don't have a cat. I like that." And I don't think that an artificial intelligence is ever going to write that line. I just don't think that's ever going to happen. But that's not to say that artificial intelligence isn't going to create things that are very watchable, because the vast majority of human art doesn't reach that level. The vast majority of human art is content, not film, not cinema, not high art. Right? We know this. There's tiers to it. Nobody's watching The Real Housewives of Orange County being like, no AI could ever think of this concept. So it's all changing. So what do you do as an actor? You're here. You're on my YouTube channel, so you're probably an actor. What do you do? This stuff's all out of our control. You have a limited amount of bandwidth. That's just the way it is. And you can either devote that bandwidth to existential dread, or you can devote it to getting really, really, really good at your job. The landscape is changing. Of course it is. It always has been. Like 100 years ago, movies didn't have talking in them. And then there were a whole generation of like movie stars that just had funny voices. And as soon as we started recording sound, people were like, oh, that's not going to work. And then a whole new generation of actors came up. Content will always be king. If you are creative and you create something good, really, really good, someone's going to want it. Devote your time to the things that you can control and don't get sidelined by all of the things that are not. That's what you have a union for. Be good. Be ready so that when your opportunities come, however they come, you can capitalize on them. And understand that if you are an artist and you're genuinely good, there's probably going to be a place for you. If you have the presence of mind to continually develop your craft, and if you have the endurance to ride out the challenging times. The industry is a wave. The advancement of technology is a wave. And if you love acting, you'll find a way to surf it. Man, I wish this episode had more hard and fast things that could make you feel better or answers, but I don't have the answers when it comes to artificial intelligence. That's why I think this can be the first of many videos like this, because this is going to be a continued conversation as it develops. Listen, I'm going to probably, like, the next video I make about artificial intelligence, I'm going to look back in this video and be like, hey guys, do you remember, man, we were so young. We were so young back then. We were young and we believed silly things. So regardless, I'm grateful you're here to have this dialogue. And I hope, if not helpful, you found this video informative and or useful as an intellectual exploration of something that is scary and exciting at the same time. Thank you so much for being here. Please click like, subscribe, tell all your friends, family members, shout it to the artificial intelligence gods that they may spread the word of this channel. I very much appreciate your time. Go do the one thing that artificial intelligence can't, and be people.